Good evening, everyone. How are you all? Welcome. This is week 5, the end of the I Am Worthy program. Woo-hoo! How much fun has it been for you guys? It has been such a huge journey for myself, as well as I've been going through the workbooks and filling in my own worksheets and just breathing through a lot of the stuff that we've got that this 5-week program has brought up for us all. And what I'd love to do now is share the finale. So as we're concluding the I Am Worthy week, we'll try and get to some questions and answers at the end of this video. And as you can see, I'm in a slightly different position because tonight I'm going to be, that's better. Tonight I'm going to be actually going through a process using the map of consciousness, which is the David Hawkins map of consciousness. It's in the file section. I uploaded it earlier this afternoon. So that map of consciousness on page 16. So if you remember in week 1, I had a little extra bit to share, but I didn't want to share it too soon because I felt like it was going to cloud and muddy the actual process. I felt there was enough going on with the content in the book and the worksheets and everything else. And because it's quite a fast-paced program, I thought I'm going to leave this to the end, but it is so, so good. And it's a combination of self-testing in terms of muscle monitoring, self-testing. So I'm going to show you a really simple self-testing technique. We're going to apply that technique to 3 aspects, and we're going to gauge via our muscle monitoring technique, the self-test technique. We're going to gauge where we fall on any given day on the scale that is power versus force, the David Hawkins power versus force map of consciousness. Now, why would we want to do this? Well, if we are struggling, if we are trying to hit some goals or some targets, if we find that we are getting stuck with some of maybe the content in the I Am Worthy program, if you feel that there is just something that is just not shifting. Now, when I say that, just know that a lot of the time when we are feeling we're procrastinating, we haven't really got as far as we wanted to, other people are not quite understanding us, we're not being as effective. If you run a business, where's my cash flow? Where are my clients? Where are my sales? If you're in a team environment, with your job, and you want to step up, like why are you not stepping up? All those sorts of things. Why are some of those relationships, all that internal work, if it's not shifting, this is going to be like the groundbreaker for you, because you're going to tap into the unconscious. So up until now, all the work you have been doing has been on a conscious playing field. We have dived really deep. We've given you lots of suggestions, lots of affirmations, lots of essential oils, and some fabulous content. And energetically, you're ready. You are now ready after 5 weeks to do this next step. What I'm also going to share with you is not only am I going to show you, I'm going to show you step by step how to do this. I'm also going to show you how to release the emotions around where you have sat on your map of consciousness. So where the emotions around, and then I'm going to give you some meridian points, just like Desiree has done. And now we're going to clear those emotions around those meridian points, and we're going to do some breathing work, which is going to tie everything back into with vertical core meditation. I know, right? Like, this is so good. So when I first started doing this work last year, or possibly even more than a year ago, with my coaching group. The reason why it was so effective for me is that it wasn't just a business coaching group. What that particular facilitator did, even though it was wrapped up in a business coaching program, was, as an NLP practitioner, the reason why I joined her is because she was an NLP practitioner, and that's a neuro-linguistic programming coach. So she worked in that field, and she actually had this deeper insight, which really made everything about this business coaching course so attractive, because I knew a lot of my stuff, as is with everyone, was energetic. And I knew that unless I got to the emotions, the energy, and I found a way to clear all of that, that I would be knowing what to do, understanding what to do, but it would be just an intellectual process. And why I wasn't hitting my targets, why wasn't I completing things, why was I, getting frustrated with myself, why wasn't I, maybe turning up to, as I did, to some of the classes, because we had a Monday night regular class at 7:30, why was I missing those classes? And there's a big lot of stuff going on underneath. So when I did this program, when I actually learned how to do this, and I know how to muscle monitor because that's my background. My background's in kinesiology. It's one of the very first things that we do is not only do we learn how to muscle monitor other people, but we learn how to self-test. So when she presented this very early on in our program, it blew me away. I thought, oh, absolutely, of course, this is what's going to make everything supercharge. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, because that's exactly what happened. I wouldn't be here today if I wasn't able to do this clearing process. So I'm going to break it down really, really simple. Number one, I'm going to show you how to do a self-test. Very, very simple self-test. Are you ready? How exciting is tonight? So what we're going to do, we're going to make 2 circles. So index finger and thumbs are going to touch, okay? Very simply. We're not going to put too much pressure. We're just going to touch. What we're going to then do, we're going to link those 2 circles together. Just like that, okay? Now, some very strange stuff's going to happen, but it's completely science-based. There's nothing weird. It appears weird, but there's nothing weird. Now, I know a lot of you have had a lot of changes, which you could describe as unexplainable. And it's because I've been infusing a lot of energy into this program behind the scenes, charging this up for you guys. And I know that this is why you guys are having so many changes. So what you're going to do is you're going to learn this very simple muscle monitoring technique. You're going to link the index finger and the thumb finger together, and you're going to make a chain, like a chain. And as you can see, it's just 2 circles linked together. Now, this is the great part. This is the huge, amazing part. You may want to practice this quite a few times before you then move on to the next stage, which is using that scale of consciousness, integrating it with the emotional chart that I'm about to show you guys as well. And then we're going to do the actual clearing work around those meridian points. We're going to rub and breathe. We're going to breathe our way through. Awesome, huh? So very simply, I'm going to test a yes lock or a yes connected link and no. And it's just going to be through the word yes and no. So this will require a little bit of practice. Once you get it, you'll be able to zip through all these 3 charts in order, and you will feel like something miraculous has occurred. You've cleared your unconscious resistance. Your unconscious resistance to you being worthy to the life you really deserve. Now that is well worth practicing to learn how to get access to your unconscious. So here we go. Yes, and I pull. So you pull. Yes, yes, locks. Yes, no. Did you see that? No. When I pull, it detaches, the link breaks. Now go and practice that. Yes, no, yes, no. It's going to happen every single time. Yes will hold, the link will hold. No, it will open. Every single time. Right. Go and practice that. Pause this video if you need to. Go and practice that. Put some messages into the chat box. I will open up the chat box. That'll be a good idea. Anyone here? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, cool. Let me just move that out of the way. Awesome. So we have a yes. Remember, it's just two interlinking circles. Yes. And then we have a no. And it will break. The link will break. Doesn't matter which finger releases first, the link will break on the no. So yes, no. Okay, cool. So part A is the map of consciousness. Now, if you've noticed on that map, you have, let me just pin myself. Hello. I'm going to pin this. Awesome. So as you have noticed on your map of consciousness, on your chart there, you will see, actually this one here doesn't quite have it, but the one that I've shared in the group does. So print off that one there. You will notice that this map of consciousness is scaled between 100 and 1,000. So 100, so the lower emotions, the lower frequencies, like the shame and guilt, are at the bottom of the page. And you can see that there's a rating there. Okay, you can actually see Desiree does have an energetic frequency rating. Some of the other ones you'll just notice will just be at about 100. So what I'd like you to do is, by using the scale of 1 to 100, we're going to move through your scale of consciousness. Now, what that means is 1,000 means you're in flow, that you're connected, that you're grounded within your body. When you have anything under 1,000, and you're going to use your muscle monitoring techniques to find that out, like where do you sit, then you're going to find out the emotion, and then you're going to do the meridian clearing point with breath. What you will then do is you'll use your muscle monitoring, and you will recheck where you're at. You'll recheck where do you sit. And if it clears the first time and you clear, say your link breaks at say 400, and then you do the process, and then you go back and check, where am I sitting right now? And it's 1,000. Fantastic. So when I first started doing this work, I was hovering around the sort of between the 300 and the 500 mark. So I'd start off and I'd be like, and sometimes because I was getting so stressed because it was all, it was all business, I would then, my link would break on about 300. So if you look at about where 300 is, it's still quite low. You can break it down further like Desiree has. So the lower the number, the lower the frequency, the more difficult it is for you to be awesome, feel your sense of self-worth, and move forward on the day. Now, you can play act, you can put a mask on, you can smile, you can get in the car, you can go to work, you can go to that meeting, you can meet that friend, you can see that family member, but inside, you're not going to be as effective. Truly in love and in acceptance and forgiveness, in that I am worthy state. So let's practice on a scale. So first we need to breathe. So you need to breathe. You can do this. You can do the vertical core. Straight into womb space. Okay. Scale of consciousness. Where am I sitting? 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. 600, 700, 800. So I'm at 800, which is cool, but it's still not 1,000. Still not. I want it, and this is why you do it every day, and you clear it first thing in the morning. Or you could even, once you've learned all the points, before something challenging, before an interview, before a meeting, before an important conversation, some sort of critical conversation you need to have, before your next vertical core even, before your next saying a healthy no to someone, you could run through these points once you've learned them. Cool, huh? So I'm sitting at 100. So what is it that I need to shift so that I can be 1,000? Does that make sense? What is it that you need to shift so that we can get you to 1,000? So that's quite simple. Now, you may be able to see, I've got the one chart up. So I'm now going to open up, I'm going to minimize that chat. I'm going to move my head out of the way. So as you can see in the file section, you will have this, and pardon the I took this straight off my coaching program because I already had the information. So this is one that I use. It's from Dane Thomas. Please look him up. He's a kinesiologist. It does amazing things. Both of these reference charts come from him, so I've credited him, and he calls it clear shit. And that's what it's called. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my chart, and firstly, I'm just going to use the titles of each of those circles. So this is a Chinese 5-element chart. So as you can see, the red at the top has got fire, orange, yellow, orange, yellowish, yellow, brown, earth. To the bottom, metal. Over to the other side, we have water, wood, and in the middle we have central vessel. So that's your central vessel meridian, and then underneath that we've got governing. That's your governing vessel. So very simply, there's Dane at the bottom. There's his name. You can go look him up if you're interested. It's got great stuff, really, really good content, especially if you want to get to know a little bit more about kinesiology and how to use muscle monitoring. So let's go for it. I'm going to check with my muscle monitoring. I'm at 800, and I want to know what's the emotion behind this. What is the emotion behind this? What's holding me back? Unconsciously holding me back from me being the best that I can be this day, any day or any moment. So I'm going to go through. Is it central vessel? Is it governing vessel? Is it fire? It's earth. Fire, earth. Central, governing, fire, earth. Now you could lose the link on metal, on water, on wood, on fire. Then, as you can see, on my earth side, my link broke on earth. I'm going to check, is it spleen or is it stomach? Because there are different points to rub on your meridian chart. If it's spleen, stomach. It's actually spleen, stomach is the same point. So if it's the earth element, it's the same point. Sometimes on the charts, you'll notice that for the water meridian, there's a different point to rub for kidney, different point to rub for bladder. Metal chart, there's a different point to rub for the lung, and there's a different point to rub on the body for large intestine. And it's all on that chart. So firstly, I need to find out on my earth wheel, on my earth circle, is it spleen or is it stomach? Because we have different emotions that come through. This is exactly what we do in kinesiology, which makes it so awesome. So I'm going to go back to my muscle monitor, and I'm just going to say, is it spleen? Is it earth? It's earth. Sorry, is it spleen? Beg your pardon. Spleen or stomach? Is it spleen? Is it stomach? Spleen, stomach. It's stomach. So I'm just going to go down my stomach list, and I've got a list of emotions. Now, these emotions are actually what's going on as a current, as an unconscious current underneath me being at the rating of 1,000 in my day, according to my sense of self-worth. Mind you, you can put anything, any intention onto this, but we're going to stick to Desiree's program. We're going to do this along Desiree's guidelines, and I'm going to show you a neat little trick at the end as well. So stomach, so empathy, sympathy, disgust, worry. We broke up worry. Empathy, sympathy, worry, disgust, worry. So there's worry. So if something is worrying me, I am worried about something. Cool. I don't need to know much more than that. I don't need to have a story around that. You might have a story around that. You might want to pause. You might want to journal this part. It's entirely up to you. But that is, and remember, this is just a clearing. This is going to be done in 5 or under 10 minutes, maybe even under 5 minutes. When you get really sharp with this, you're going to be really, and it's just going to clear. It's the physical clearing to do with the emotional clearing, to do with the energetic clearing. Now, this doesn't mean that once it's done, that's it. Anything can throw you out. So that's why we go back and we check. But I can tell you one thing, when I do this and it clears, as I said before, I started off at about between 300 and 500, and I did the process. I did all the rubbish. Now I'm sitting at about 800. You will too. It's that simple. It's just going to be clearing. There is more to this. This is just it feels deep, but it's just opening another door, like all healing does. So I'm going to move over to my meridian chart, which I hope you can see as well. If anyone can't see this on this, just let me know in the chat box. Just say, I can't see it. So here is your body meridian access points. And this is according to Dane Thomas. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my chart and I'm going to find out where my point is. So my point was stomach for earth, and you can see it right there. So that's going to be on my body. It's going to be on the left-hand side. So I'm going to step back a little bit. Don't know if you can see that. I'm a little bit short. But I'm going to rub. So here's my rib cage. So I'm going to be rubbing my spleen stomach point, and I'm going to go back into my breath work. And sometimes the point itself can be a bit sore. You might burp. I tend to burp my energy out. Other people can yawn the energy out. It's all okay. So I'm grounded. I'm sitting in my vertical core. And there's more coming up. There's more worry coming up. Okay. Whew. I feel like that's been like a bit of a workout for me. Very interesting. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do my test, my self-test again. And all I really want to do now is establish, has that changed from the original 800 on my map of consciousness up to 1,000? Is that all I needed? It may be. And it doesn't matter if you have to do this 3 or 4 times. It doesn't matter if it feels like it goes all over the place. You get a 200, then you get a 400, then you get a 700, and then it drops back down to a 500. Chaos theory, unconscious, just go with it. If you feel that it's just, you're just, you know, you've been there 5 to 8 minutes and it's still not clearing, just go back into your vertical core, trust your body. Trust your body. Your body knows how to do this. It knows how to shift. Move away from the head bubble. Move back into your vertical core. Take that deep breath and believe in what is being shown you. You must trust that your unconscious mind already knows the full story behind everything. Scale of consciousness. Power versus force. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 800, 900, 1,000. So it's holding at 1,000. There it is. Does anyone want me to go through that again? Shall we start from the top? Let's have a look. So I did see Mel here earlier. Mel, if you're still there, did you want me to go through that again? It's pretty cool. Like, so cool. So here is your map of consciousness, page 16. You're going to go back into the body. You're just going to have these printouts ready and available, okay? So they're in the file section. Print them off. You can use the map of consciousness in the I Am Worthy, but we're going to juice it up a little bit more. We're going to actually implement this kinesiology technique. As I said before, it may take a bit of practice. So I'm just going to hop over to the program. I'm going to jump into the files. And I'm just going to open up the map of consciousness. Here we go. Yeah. So that is the one that I've shared with you. There are a few more, and of course you can use Desiree's as well. So all you're going to do, so we're just going to ground ourselves. We're going to use our breath. We're going to do a vertical core meditation, which you know there's a recording is here in the group as well. And head down to womb space. Now, what you can do is you can just do this in what we call in the clear. You can just say, okay, I'm ready to start my day. I'm just moving forward. I just want to check in. Where am I at? We're going to use the muscle monitoring technique. So index finger and thumb together, hold it together, link it together, and we're just going to basically pull until the link breaks. What are the two key questions you're going to ask? You're going to say yes and no. Yes, the link will hold. No, the link will break. So you're going to practice that first. Yes, no. Yes, no. And you actually have to pull. You do have to pull, so it's quite physical. So it's a yes, and then it's a no. It's a yes, and then it's a no. And then you're going to go through your scale of consciousness or map of consciousness from 100 to 1,000. You're going to see where you sit. Now you can, as you can see here, under 200, we're still in the force category. Okay, so you can break it down further. If your link breaks under 200 and you want to know a little bit more, then what you can do, you can start at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then do the muscle monitoring test. So for example, I'm just going to wind it back. I'm just going to go back to a time. Which time? Okay, I'm going to wind it back about 10 years ago for myself. I'm doing this ad just as an example. I'm going to wind it back. I'm going to feel what it felt like, what I was feeling about 10 years ago. Okay, here it is. 100, 200, 300. That's awesome. Okay, so it did go to 300. So that's different from 800. So now I'm going to be a little bit clearer. I'm going to go back. Is it 10? Is it 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100? 100, 110, 20, 30, 40. There you go. Interesting. 130. So what have I got at about 130? So 125, I have denying the self, denying the self. Okay. My view in life was disappointing. I can say yes, it was quite an intense relationship at the time, personal relationship. What was I feeling? The level of enlightenment. Yeah, there were a lot of desires. My desires were not getting met, but I wasn't expressing them either. And emotions, I was craving, yes. So I did have a lot of cravings. I had actually food cravings. So about 10 years ago, I would say I was craving a lot of salt, sugar, fat, and I just almost couldn't get enough carbs into my body. And I was eating quite normally, but it was really carbless. This is before I knew I was, I had a gluten issue and an inflammatory issue. This is before I went to a naturopath. And I did have the essential oils. I just wasn't using them as effectively as I know I can use them today. And the process, enslavement. It was a very, very manipulative person that I was dealing with, which was part of my growth process. So that makes a lot of sense for me, right? That makes a lot of sense. And, so that was just an example of how you can use this. And you can, and I know that's not where I'm at. That's like a long time ago. It's all past now, but I can recall that, and unconsciously my body can recall it. Now, is that me now? No. But that was really quite an interesting example. I think I might try and use that again another time. Like, have I truly let go of that? Yes, I know I have. But for the interest of the as an exercise, wasn't that really interesting to see? Because that actually made quite a bit of sense. And I'm sure that you could look at it objectively and say, well, quite a few of the other ones would have made sense. Yes, a lot of these emotions can make sense in many aspects of our lives, but the one that I wanted was the one that made sense to me. What did my link, my muscle monitoring link, break on? And it broke there. Awesome. So it broke there. So taking it back then, I'm just going to close that up, taking it back to how you want to be doing this awesome, fantastic, extra sharing technique is we're going to do quite simply every morning. You're going to check in. You're going to check in on which, and as an extra, you can print these off, you can laminate them, you can put them on your bathroom mirror if you like. The emotions chart is awesome. We use very similar emotions charts in kinesiology. We do have tons and tons more, but this is a really, really good one. Oh, I'm still shifting a little bit. And then you've got the actual meridian chart where you can go in and actually do some physical shifting and clearing at the unconscious level, whatever is holding you back, whatever is holding you back on your sense of self-worth. Now, here's the little juicy spin. You know how we've been using essential oils for the last 5 weeks? I know, right? You know how great they are? Absolutely. Remember the 4 rollerball blends that came with Desiree's program? The 4 rollerball blends, the Clear the Noise, the Replenish, the Forgive, and then the I Am Worthy. So what you can do is, if you're wishing to integrate very, very simply without getting too technical or, you know, going overboard, we're going to, again, keep it within the boundaries of Desiree's program. I would love for you to have those 4 rollerballs in front of you as you do this, you know, at the end of the program. And it doesn't matter where you are, if you're repeating the program, if you're starting again at week 2, if you felt like you're still stuck on week 3 with its 2 parts of, you know, the uncovering the shame and pulling the roots, if you're still there, not a problem. You can still do this. You can still do this. And you can line up your 4 rollerballs in front of you, and you can ask your body, using this muscle test, which rollerball do you need? And then you can apply that rollerball to the meridian point that you're about to move the energy forward from. Oh my goodness. Can you see that you've just added another layer in? Can you see that Desiree knows her stuff? And this is something that in kinesiology we do as well. We apply essential oils to very specific meridian points on the body for specific clearing purposes. And that's what my little gift to you guys is for our week 5 final concluding video, is that you can use your yes, no, and you can line up your essential oil rollerballs from the program and then use them on the points as well. I mean, wow, right? Like, wow. So I'm just going to go over, and so for myself, I've come back into what did I need? I cleared the stomach point. So if I go back into that stomach, in that worry emotion, I can then look at my rollerballs, which I just have down here, and forgiveness shows up. So what I could do is I could grab my forgiveness rollerball and, let's go back a little bit. There we go. You can see me. I could apply my rollerball to that point and rub away. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So if there's anybody out there, that would be wonderful. Pop on, share something with me. That is great. Like, you know, anything you want to share about the last week, the I Am Worthy week. It's been phenomenal. It's been such a huge journey, hasn't it? And of course, you can go back over this again and again and again. You have all the information here. You have access to all of the worksheets as well. So you can go back and do a little bit more. The I Am Worthy, wasn't that just an awesome essential oil blend? I just absolutely loved it. The diffuser blend is great. Still got it running in the background over there. And now you're ready to move forward into that circle. So page 124 in the book, into that circle of worthiness, leading into inspiration, create via choice how you want your day to move forward. If it's not showing up and it's unclear, do your scale of consciousness clearing, find the emotion, rub the points, use your oils. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to keep growing. We're going to keep growing into worthiness. We're going to keep growing into inspiration. Then you're going to create again. It could be anything. like literally anything, because now you have an access point to clearing, permanently clearing your unconscious. And that's why kinesiology absolutely rocks this world. When you have a really good kinesiologist who knows what he or she's doing and can access this and move into the divine, your divine for you, and clear this through via your unconscious, that's why kinesiology is so effective. And that's why we can do so much more work with ourselves, even with that muscle monitoring test. Now, disclaimer, you are not kinesiologists. Please don't go and muscle monitor for your mum, for your kids, unless you've done my muscle monitoring program. Like, I've got a muscle monitoring program that I actually do. It's a 4-hour workshop that I do here in Perth. And I show you how to integrate that with another person. Then I would say in that structure you can, but this does not mean you can then go around and start muscle monitoring what's going on with your partner. Not fair. So as you move through multiple cycles of growing your worthiness and inspired creation, they expand simultaneously. You move from believing you are worthy to knowing you are worthy. So that's that spiral. And it's very interesting that Danae Thomas's meridian chart is called the spiral meridian chart. So owning your worth leads to the removal of noise and flowing inspiration. This allows you to hear the music of life and to create your unique art. As you share your art, the human community benefits and the world expands around you. As the world expands, so too does your worth. It's a beautiful cycle of growth. That's why you can keep doing the same work. It's like rereading that favorite novel that you read, 10 or 15 years ago, and it's sitting on your shelf and you're like, oh, I think I might read that again. And then you pull it out and you read it again. You're like, oh my God, this is so good. But then you get more out of it. Now, what's different? Have the words on the page changed? What's grown and changed is you. You have changed. So you're reading into this more deeply. Now, this is very true for any sort of spiritual development program or book or anything at all. You could listen to the same podcast again 6 months later and you will get more from that podcast. Like, what is that? It's just a recording, right? But you could go through Desiree's book again in 6 months' time or in a year's time and you will get more out of it. It's exactly the same, but you get more out of it because you have grown and you have changed, and you can apply your current wisdom in a completely different way. It's not better or worse than it was 10 or 15 years ago. It's just different to that moment. And that's spiritual development. So spiritual development is not about getting there and being successful. And that's why we hold back on our success as humans. My view is that we need things to be perfect now. And if it's not perfect now, we're not going to execute anything. We're not going to ask for that change. We're not going to share that opinion. We're not going to sign up for that course. We're not going to believe the other person. We're just going to sit and stew, within ourselves, because we're growing. Each time that you don't do something, you're still growing. Each time you do something, you're going to grow again. It's entirely up to you how you do it. That's why if you're still a couple of weeks back in this program, it's all good. It's all good. You'll catch up. And then when you do it again, if you ever do it again, then you can get a little bit more out of this. So Desiree then goes on to say, this book was created specifically for you so that you can close the gap between potential and actualization. It's a little story about potential and actualization. If you want to know more about your potential and the actualization of that, there are two things you can do. One, you can go and check out Dr. Joe Dispenza. Go check him out. And the other one is Dr. Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief. You can read Dr. Bruce Lipton's book, Biology of Belief. They're both public figures. I'm sure Dr. Dispenza has information on it's a meditation that he does. And what he essentially shows you is that you can move from this potential into actualization. So those two authors would be awesome if you really want to know a little bit more about how you can, how you have been shaped by your beliefs, and then how you can overcome them. If you want to know more about the emotions and how the emotions impact the physiology of the body, please read Dr. Candace Pert's her book, Molecules of Emotion. Groundbreaking stuff. When I read that book, it blew me away. So Desiree goes on to say, I know firsthand how playing small can kill the spirit. Who sees that in their partners or in their kids or in their relatives, in their siblings? Who sees that in themselves? How playing small kills the spirit. And she goes on to say, I know firsthand how this feels. Worthlessness is a barrier to greatness. Thankfully, we have the tools like the essential oils to remove these barriers. So worthlessness is a barrier to greatness. Now, Brené Brown does that stupendously well in her Daring Greatly, Gifts of My Imperfection, Rising Strong, and then Braving the Wilderness. Those 4 books are amazing. Plus, she's an online figure as well. You can easily do a little bit more. And I know that we've also spoken about Brené Brown. And then you can move on. You can move on to Oprah and really get some more juice out of what Oprah does and says. And then Marianne Williamson just knocks everything out of the park. A little bit more, Marianne Williamson, and her synopsis, her play on the book A Course in Miracles. That's pretty much been my journey as well. So the authors I'm talking to you about is because I've done the work with them as such, read their books, listened to their podcasts, applied their techniques. Stuff works. She goes on to say, and this is me saying it to you guys as well, I love you dearly, my soul friend. I hope to see you in person and give you a big hug. Oh, I actually have done that. I'm only reading this for the first time tonight. I mean, I've read it, but now I'm actually reading it and I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting tears in my eyes. I did see her and I did give her a big hug. Oh, that's why we're doing this, guys. I'm going to write her an email. Remember, you are worth it. Run after your dreams and shake up the humdrum life. And trust that all the people, tools, resources you need to make things happen always show up at the perfect time. She goes on to say, she'd love to hear from you and your journey. Please contact me. So please do. If that's what you feel like you want to do, off you go. She then says, thank you again for sharing your energy and making the world a better place. So the biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. And that's Oprah Winfrey. Thank you so much to all of you on this program. Thank you so much for saying yes to the journey and sticking with it and pausing and starting again and whatever it is that you did in the journey. Go back, rewatch this video as many times as you need to practice that extra technique that I've added in that's just going to just help you just crack that surface, that little bit, that surface of conscious to unconscious using that very simple muscle monitoring technique. You will feel completely different. It's just going to add that little bit more. I want you to take as much as you can away from this, and please don't think that you haven't been able to either, if you complete the course or you haven't done well enough. That is just your ego, just saying that you're not worthy. You have done amazing, huge leaps and bounds. I know this has been instrumental for the next phase of your life, whatever that may be. God bless each and every one of you. Keep in touch. You know where I am. Send a message to me if you need to. Ask any further questions. And this group will still be here. The videos, the worksheets, everything will still be here for at least another 6 to 8 weeks. So it's still, the content will still be here for each and every one of you to just evolve and move through. And if you want to do this process again with me, which I'd love to see you do this again, I'll be more than likely rerunning this again sometime next year. So I'm looking at possibly doing this program again in this format, or maybe a slightly different format, but there will be an online version of this in sometime in the new year. And I hope to see you there again. And all I can say is thank you so much. What a ride it has been with you guys. And I love to hear from you. I may pop up a survey in a day or so on the group. I'd love for your feedback. Just it'll be anonymous, so please feel free. Love to get some feedback just so I know how I can improve this program for the next, for myself and for the next batch of people that come through as well. So I'd love your comments. Any feedback is good feedback. So move forward in your worthiness. Love who you are. Know that you are enough just as you are today. God bless you on your journey, and I see you again soon. Good night, guys.